Coming up, Tzuchi's Prefab Classrooms are set up in Tacloban, Philippines for students to return to class. In China, we follow Yang Xiaodong, an ankylosing spondylitis patient, on his path of recovery after half a year of treatment. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. In the Philippines, to date, Tzuchi's Cash for Work program in Tacloban City has exceeded 200,000 attendances, and kitchen volunteers have been busy preparing meals for the participants since November 26th. As residents work hand in hand to clear the streets, garbage trucks are also assisting to transport the debris to temporary dump sites. However, in less than a week's time, the area was no longer adequate and other arrangements had to be made.
Over the past some 10 days, each morning at 6 a.m., local residents flock to the Cash for Work program registration venue to sign up. As of December 3rd, attendance in the program has reached 220,000. As Cash for Work participants work away, 30 trucks make their way through the streets, helping remove debris and waste from the city.
5 minutes to park there. 1.5 hours, sir, travel. Sakaan to dump site.
In less than a week, the temporary dump site, which is the size of 2 football fields, has become too overcrowded. Hence, the government requested that the waste be transported to a dump site located 12 kilometers outside of Tacloban.
I've been working since 6 a.m. this morning. I only made 5 trips today because of the long distances. I'm almost done for the day.
If each truck can carry 10 tons of garbage, that means around 300 tons of debris can be cleared from Tacloban each day. Without Tzuchi's Cash for Work program, what will Tacloban look like today? After a day's hard work, Tacloban residents wait in line for lunch. Having put all their energies into cleaning up their communities, these residents found that Tzuchi's instant rice tasted extra delicious.
Did you like it?
In the 2 weeks since Tzuchi implemented the Cash for Work program in Tacloban, those signing up for the program have increased by the day. To allow residents to focus on the task at hand free from worries, beginning November 26th, Tzuchi volunteers have been providing meals for the participants.
While working hard to rebuild their communities, we also want them to have a steaming bowl of instant rice to warm their stomachs.
I'm touched when I hear that the residents are enjoying the meal that we prepared for them.
In order to prepare meals for over 10,000 participants, volunteers begin their preparation as early as 7 a.m. Even local residents extended a helping hand to the Taiwanese volunteers.
I didn't find it so tasty in the beginning, but after I tried it a few times, it tasted really good. I even wanted to take some home to share with my neighbors because they would really like it too.
Despite speaking different languages, everyone nevertheless works together. Volunteers also seized each opportunity to spread the master's ideals.
First of all, I need to manage the numbers and let them know not to waste. I asked the local volunteer to translate for me, telling residents that no food should be wasted.
This hot meal not only warmed the residents' stomachs, but also their hearts as well.
To provide medical attention to Typhoon Haiyan survivors, overseas team members joined in a free clinic held at a local church in Palo District, Tacloban City. Other than the regular free clinic, Dr. Yetian Hao and his wife from Taiwan also organized a mobile free clinic in the disaster area, offering basic medical treatment to those affected by the typhoon.
On the street, Tzuchi Li Minshuang is announcing loudly to inform passers-by of Tzuchi's free medical service.
As disaster survivors are involved in the Cash for Work program, they sometimes get injured. They can come here to see a doctor.
In just 10 minutes, some 30 patients already joined in the queue waiting to see the doctor. Jida, who lives just around the corner, suffers from infected blisters on her toes. This patient suffers from an inflammation in his wound, which requires immediate medical attention, while this woman and her 3 daughters have a cold. The doctor stationed at this free clinic is Dr. Yetian Hao. Both him and his wife are from Taiwan.
We have to seize the opportunity to help the less fortunate. In the disaster areas, you have to improvise with whatever resources you have on site. We just do our best to make contributions.
No matter how bad the environment is, Dr. Ye is able to cope. However, what's even more challenging is the language barrier. Thankfully, a Filipino Tzu Ching comes and helps as a translator. Dr. Ye's wife is a pharmacist at this free clinic. She has to learn to adapt herself to the different local medication practices.
The Filipinos have a different way of writing prescriptions, so we have to check that first to avoid any misunderstanding. For example, if the medication here is taken 3 times a day, we write TID, while Filipino doctors write 3 plus a day. It's different.
As long as the disaster survivors are in need of medical services, Dr. Ye and his medical team will find their way to help those in need. Meanwhile, at a local church in Palau District, Tacloban City, Timah members from Taiwan, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Manila have gathered to provide free medical services for local residents. Many of the residents come to seek medical treatment following their mass service.
We lost everything. Thank you for helping us.
Typhoon Haiyan has deprived Tacloban residents of almost everything. Thankfully, Tzu Chi immediately organized a series of free clinics to tend to the needy patients. Dr. Wang Renjing from Indonesia sees the chance to not only relieve patients' pain and suffering, but also provide emotional support.
You have to know that you are not alone because we are here to help one another.
That doctor is very nice to me. She cares for me like I am her family.
When we heard about the typhoon here, our heart is very hurt. It's so wonderful. We can give them love, hope. We all come here to support them. That they are not alone. We all family. That's why we are churchy family.
At this free clinic, Timah doctors provided various medical services. Selangor and Kuala Lumpur Timah doctor Wang Wenfu uses acupuncture to treat discomfort in a patient's eyes.
So this is acupuncture. It's my first time trying such treatment. I'm grateful to these Timah doctors. We really need this type of free clinic here. We didn't have such medical services before.
I feel very happy. I can help people. This is, I think, they're suffering for quite a long time. Right? They can't hear properly. They can't see properly. So it helps. I feel very happy.
Thanks to the assistance of Timah volunteers from home and abroad, the disaster survivors are once again restored to a peaceful state of mind. They know that on their path to recovery, Tzu Chi volunteers will always be by their side.
To help students in Tacloban City, Taiwan Tzu Chi volunteers have been mobilized to build prefabricated classrooms. Other than holding classes in those buildings, in times of need, all of them can be turned into temporary shelters. Meanwhile, 30 volunteers have also arrived in Tacloban on December 3rd to assemble the classrooms that have already arrived at the disaster zone.
Traveling from Taiwan to the Philippines, on the morning of December 3rd, a disaster assessment team made up by 30 Tzu Chi volunteers arrived in Tacloban City.
The most important task is to help students return to school as soon as possible. We also want to have a place for the street kids. That's why we need to hurry up and set up these prefabricated classrooms.
Very soon, the team arrived at Lei Progressive High School, which is also the temporary Tzu Chi command center, to assemble prefab classrooms.
First of all, we want to show local government officials what prefab classrooms look like. Second, we want to teach local volunteers how to put these classrooms together.
As soon as the prefab classrooms are set up, schools can be back in session. In the future, these classrooms can also be used as temporary shelters to give those without a roof over their heads a place to call home. Using 1,000 screws, a prefab classroom can be assembled in 2 hours with the help of 15 people. The structure of the prefabricated classrooms is made from pre-galvanized steel. Tzu Chi volunteers have also used remote positioning controls to ensure the accuracy at the steel position.
We put the pipe here and cut it over there, so the measurement will be correct.
After cutting the pipes down to the right size, Tzu Chi volunteers use the multi-axis drilling method to drill holes.
All of us are following in Mr. Zheng Yan's footsteps. We must fulfill the task that was given to us.
The classroom walls are made from corrugated plastic boards with the same size and shape.
We are Mr. Zheng Yan's disciples. The master thinks that these prefab classrooms can help disaster survivors. That's why we are making these classrooms.
Windows are also built on 2 sides to give the classroom good air circulation. Different colors are used on the pipes to differentiate the positions. Yellow is used on the left side while red is used on the right side. Blue is used for the ground level, white is used for the front, and green for the back.
When organizing disaster assessment, the most important thing is to understand what disaster survivors need the most.
Despite the long hours and hardships, all the volunteers give 100% of their strength to build these prefabricated classrooms because they know that they can provide children in the disaster zone a safer learning environment.
As the Philippines is listed by the World Bank as one of the nations most affected by climate change, the country previously established a new agency and passed new laws to deal with problems resulting from climate change. However, in the face of Typhoon Haiyan, all preparations were for naught. Thus, scholars suggested that fortifying each community and raising its emergency response awareness might be possibly a better solution.
Typhoon Haiyan decimated much of the Philippines. The largest local NGO there, the Philippine National Red Cross, has fully mobilized to cope with the aftermath.
All the local governments should be able to prepare themselves long before the disaster, but they don't have the resources to announce it to the people, to have the resources that they will utilize to save people's lives. So that was important.
The disaster occurred while the UN Climate Change Conference took place in Poland. A delegate from the Philippines gave a tearful speech on behalf of his people.
I speak for the countless people who will no longer be able to speak for themselves after perishing from the storm. I speak also for those who have been orphaned by the storm. I speak for those who have the people now raising this time to save survivors and alleviate the suffering of the people affected. We can take drastic action now to ensure that we prevent a future where super typhoons become a way of life.
Mr. Sano's speech once again reminded us of the threat of climate change.
It's terrible for what has happened, but it's also a big reminder to all of us of the need of urgency.
Listed by the World Bank as one of the nations most affected by climate change, the Philippines began making preparations by forming the Climate Change Commission. However, the newly established agency was unable to prevent the September 2009 flood in the capital, Manila, which saw more rainfall than Hurricane Katrina. The newly ratified Climate Change Act of the same year stated that all areas within 50 meters of shorelines should not be inhabited. However, Haiyan brought powerful surges that reached 1 kilometer inland, destroying all poorly constructed infrastructures along the way, leaving mangrove debris scattered everywhere that hampered the rescue effort.
Initially, one of the biggest challenges was getting access, but now that those systems are in place, it's just identifying young people where they are while they're in this precarious situation.
The large amount of funding needed to support the rescue and recovery effort is also a big burden to the country. In 2012, President Aquino III signed the People's Survival Fund Act. which plans to raise $24.5 million for disaster relief. However, that plan cannot help Haiyan victims, and scholars still believe getting communities prepared for disasters is a more efficient alternative.
Nowadays, many people are advocating disaster-ready communities. People need to learn to help one another instead of waiting for the central or local government to tell them what to do.
Piling up sandbags and fortifying their roofs, things that Filipinos are not accustomed to, should not be practiced. For the reality is, extreme natural disasters like Haiyan will possibly become more frequent.
We should withdraw from these areas that are easily damaged. Whether it's in the Philippines or in Taiwan, coastal areas are vulnerable to the attack of powerful storms and waves. We must look at these areas differently and adapt accordingly.
Perhaps it is us humans who gave birth to these extreme weather conditions. But if we simply pass laws and chant slogans without actually modifying the way we live, we will all surely pay for our ignorance.
At the end of each workday, tens of thousands of Cash for Work participants line up waiting to receive their compensation for that day's effort from Tzu Chi volunteers. The head of Cash for Work program, Typhoon Haiyan, shares his wisdom of how things are kept orderly and under control.
In Tacloban, Philippines, over 10,000 people crowd into the yard at Sakahan National High School to receive their allowance for participating in Tzu Chi's Cash for Work program. Faced with the task of making sure the event runs smoothly, Tzu Chi volunteer Typhoon Haiyan, who heads the program, shares his tricks.
If we were to hand out the money to each person, we would never finish. So what we do instead is assign one person as the team captain for every group of 10 people. We then bring in the team captains and hand the money to him, who then hands it out to his team.
At other international relief work distributions, the situation is often on the verge of chaos, where mayhem may break out at any time. However, at Tzu Chi's Allowance Distribution, people conduct themselves in an orderly fashion.
We let them know that we are not asking them to give us anything in return. While we are strangers, we are all connected by a thread of compassion, and we are here to help you. Upon hearing that, their anxious hearts are calm.
This is the last cleanup session taking place near Sakahan National High School. Over the past few days, volunteers have learned much from this experience.
I would be lying if I said we are not physically tired. Also, everyone was initially suspicious of us. However, I think this is where the Master has guided us the most, teaching us how to open up our hearts, enveloping all with our compassion.
Although the allowance distribution event is about to end, many residents still linger around, unwilling to leave. From this day forward, the bond between Sakahan and Tzu Chi is one that can never be broken.
Months ago, Xiamen Tzu Chi Care recipient Yang Xiaodong, who suffered from ankylosing spondylitis, arrived at the Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital in Taiwan to receive surgery. After nearly half a year of treatment and intensive rehabilitation, Yang was finally able to go home. Today, we will take a look at Xiaodong's road to recovery.
Upon arriving at the Xiamen International Airport, Tzu Chi Care recipient Yang Xiaodong and his mother are greeted by crowds of reporters and flashing cameras. The director of the Xiamen Charity Federation also personally arrived at the airport to greet this mother-son pair. Yang's successful case was broadcast throughout the local media, and a press conference was held immediately to document this special moment.
各位领导、各位媒体朋友、各位师兄师姐，大家下午好。好。在这里不仅迎接小东啊。
We are here to welcome Yang Xiaodong home. This is the first medical collaboration between two charity organizations from both sides of the strait. This is truly a miracle.
14 local media attended the press conference. In no time, Yang Xiaodong's inspirational story reached the Xinwen Lianbo, a daily news program produced by China Central Television.
小东的情况引起了厦门和台湾两岸慈善机构。
当然，今天回来就是感觉到也是特别的感。
I was so touched when I saw Xiaodong today. It will definitely encourage those that are still suffering from their sickness on both sides of the strait to seek help from charity organizations.
Traveling through Xiamen City, Xiaodong and his mother finally arrived at their home in Xiamei Village. To fulfill his dream of walking home on his own 2 feet, as soon as he got out of the car, young Xiaodong happily walks home with the help of his walking aid. Upon seeing the boy, young Xiaodong's neighbors expressed their amazement and happiness.
Before his back was curved, it didn't look good and I couldn't see his face. I can barely recognize him anymore. He looks so young.
Young Xiaodong's 93-year-old neighbor also greeted him with joy. The senior says that she wants to take a closer look at Xiaodong's face, and in return, Xiaodong gives his neighbor a warm hug. After arriving home, city volunteers seized the opportunity to encourage young Xiaodong's brother to help take care of the boy and their mother.
If your brother can stand up and work, he can definitely lessen your family's financial burden. If the two of you work together, everyone will be better, right? We are asking you to join hands with your brother and make your family thrive.
Other than reminding Xiaodong's brother to look after him, the volunteers also carefully check everything in Yang's room to make sure he's living in a safe environment. Although finally home, young Xiaodong knows that this is not the end of his journey, but rather the beginning of a new chapter in his life.
Thanks to Tzu Chi, love from 34 countries are coming together to help the Philippines cope with Typhoon Haiyan. In Taiwan's Kaohsiung, an 80-year-old volunteer decided to make traditional treats for charity sale, while a coffee shop decided to donate its one-day earning to Haiyan disaster relief.
Customers flocked to this coffee shop in Kaohsiung's Soying district as soon as it opened. As it turns out, the shop is donating its one-day revenue to support Haiyan disaster relief in the Philippines.
At first, I was worried that nobody would show up, but it turns out everyone is very kind. They came to support our cause and contribute to our donation.
Customers from all walks of life came to support the good cause. They said knowing that they're contributing to charity made the coffee taste even better.
All compassion can find its way to the Philippines this way as well.
We should share whatever we can afford. We all live on the same planet.
Meanwhile, local Tzu Chi volunteer 80-year-old Yang Fang Jinsui has asked her fellow volunteers and relatives to join her in making some snacks to raise funds to help support Haiyan victims as well.
Master Zhen Yan came and talked about the situation in the Philippines, so I felt really sad and thought I could take a couple of days to make some snacks to raise funds.
I saw the extent of damage in the Philippines on DaAi TV and how Tzu Chi volunteers brought hope to the survivors, so I came to help.
Whether it is a cup of coffee or a traditional treat, there are many ways to raise funds for charity. As the circle of love expands, Taiwan's people are mobilizing to help Haiyan victims.
At the end of the show, we turn our camera to Indonesia, where Jakarta Tzu Chi volunteers held a relief distribution for survivors of a recent fire. Volunteers provided food, clothing, and other daily necessities. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for watching.